What up, IDS Mob? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. This is the show where we teach you how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Now, as you guys might have noticed, I'm now doing like a live, basically like once a week, and then I chop it up and put it into like individualized mini videos during the course of the week. For one, I'm really busy these days. I've been doing like a bunch of stuff. My business is growing. I got other stuff that I'm doing, but I still like to make time for the show. And I think the information is important, which, by the way, is a great lesson about dating in general. I am busy as heck, and I still like to do this because it's a passion that I have. If you're dating somebody that's saying that they're just too busy, they can't seem to like lock down a date, day, or time, and they're like flaky as heck or hard to pull, almost like pulling teeth to try to get them on a date, recognize that if they really wanted to, they'd make the time. Like, my life is busy as heck right now. I came from something, I'm going to something after I finish recording this, and I'm like, I go home, I have an hour to record. I'm going to do that. All right. So take that to heart, guys. Women that want you will find time, even in their busy schedule, to spend time with you, much like I'm spending time with you today. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about communication, and we're talking about the things that you as a guy need to stop bringing up altogether. I think that men have been taught this narrative that we need to be completely open and be able to talk to women about anything and to just tell her all of our thoughts and feelings. And what I have learned through my years of dating is that there are some things that you just don't need to either send a woman, you don't need to ask her about, or you don't need to volunteer. And so to that end, we're going to talk about those three things. First, we're going to talk about the 5 types of text that you should never send that completely turn women off. Then we're going to talk about the one question that guys oftentimes ask on dates that you should never, ever ask a woman because you don't really care and she doesn't want to answer it. And then we're going to go into, I got my little thing here. We're going to go into the 10 types of information that you need to stop volunteering when you meet these women for the first time, because it's causing them to do a second thought about you that's not positive. All right. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. So first, we're going to talk about the 5 type of text that turn women off. Now, as I always tell you guys, texting kills attraction. The more times you're on the phone with her trying to text her and send messages, the less time you're probably going to be spending with her in person because you're trying to do it all on the phone. And women don't really connect well over the phone. They do it better in person. But what can also happen when you're texting too much is that you inadvertently start texting things that could really cause her to go from, I'm highly interested in seeing this guy, to, whoa, wait, no, I don't want to see him now. So let's go ahead and get into what those 5 things are, right? And I think I actually have a bonus one up here too. So here's the first kind of text you never want to send a woman is you don't want to send her the, I haven't had that many dates in a long time text. Now, you may be a guy that hasn't dated in a while. It could be 1 year, 2 year, 5 years. You could be a guy that hasn't ever really been on dates, and this woman's seemingly giving you signals, and this would be like your first person that you dated, all right? You do not need to be sending women the message that you haven't had a date in a long time. You're thinking it's going to make you look like you're not a player, or that you're pure, or that you're going to be honest, because you would never step out on her because she's your first person that you've dated, or she's the first person in a while that you've dated, which means that you have self-control, that you're able to contain yourself from just hitting on a bunch of random women, and then you come up to her, and you're thinking that's a positive thing. Let me tell you, guy, women don't actually like to hear that you haven't had a date in a long time, because it indicates to them that you don't know how to handle women. Because if you knew how to handle women, you'd know how to speak the right things and have some kind of charm, and you'd be able to not only get women on dates, you'd know how to plan dates, you'd know what women like on these dates, and you'd be able to attract them to where you'd at least get a hookup of some kind. So when you tell a woman on the phone, oh, I haven't had that many dates, she's not taking it as a positive thing. She's reading it as, this guy doesn't actually know what to do to women, maybe possibly doesn't know how to talk to them or communicate with them. Maybe he touches them too much, or maybe he brings up weird subjects during dates. She doesn't know, but keep in mind, women are going to always try to attach a narrative to the things you tell them. So if you tell them you haven't had a date in a long time, she's going to be adding a narrative to that you don't mean to put out there, but that she could. So it's just easier if you don't send that text at all. The second kind of text that turns women off is the, I'll change my plans for you text. So this is one of those where, like, let's say she wanted to do something and you were busy. You were like, I got a thing coming up on Friday and I can't make it. and then that thing gets canceled. And then, well, one or two things happens. Either the thing gets canceled, or you hit her up and say, I can't make the thing. Something came up. I'm going to go hang with my boys tonight. And then you hit her up like 30 minutes later. Hey, so guess what? I'm actually free after all. You're thinking, hey, if the thing that I'm going to gets canceled, she already wanted to see me. There's a burning desire there. Of course, I should still make an effort to see her. Or you're thinking, hey, I told her I had plans with some other people, and now I'm saying I don't. So she'll recognize that I probably canceled those plans because I want to put her first. And you're thinking that's a positive. And I'm telling you, it is not. It is actually a turnoff. Women want to date men that have other things going on in their lives besides them. And women want to date men who aren't going to make them their entire world. When you give up your plans, or when you give her the impression that your schedule is always movable if she wants to see you, it indicates to her you have no plans, you have probably no life outside of her, and she's going to be the sole person that's responsible for entertaining you, which could lead to her thinking you're desperate and needy. You don't need that. So if you have plans, for example, let's say you have plans and then they get canceled. You should not try to think, I'm going to just go ahead and hit her back up and say, let's make some plans last minute, because you also shouldn't be planning last minute dates, especially early on in the dating process. So if you have something planned and it gets canceled, find something else to do besides go out with her. Even if she is still free or whatever, give her the impression that you do have other things going on besides her to entertain you. If you make plans with friends and she says she's suddenly available, you don't cancel your plans with friends. You go in the order that the plans happened. If your friends had plans first, and then she comes along and says she can do some stuff, well, you know what? She's got to wait. And you know what? Women want to wait. Women want to know that you actually have friends, that you have other people in your life that want to see you besides just her. This adds a dimension to your life that she can later jump into, but to completely be willing to just give that away to see her, it's not as attractive as you think it is, guys. So stop doing that. The third type of text that turns women off is the "you're so different from other women" text. And mostly it's because it's bland and boring. Women hear this all the time. Every guy that they know is saying, you're so much different from other women and blah, blah, blah. And so it just sounds like a sappy line that you're trying to use to gain her attention and attraction. And it's not ultimately going to do anything to actually bolster it. All right. But again, if you were going to say something like that, this is an example of a compliment you could say during an actual date when she'll be able to read it as like authentically true. She can see your face when you're saying it. She can hear your vocal tone, and she can get that you're saying it because you actually mean it, versus just reading it over text and thinking, oh, he's the fifth guy today that sent me this. You're not like other women text. It doesn't do anything, guys. So stop sending it. The fourth kind of text that women are tired of hearing and turn them off are something akin to the "I normally get chicks that are uglier than you." And most guys don't say it like that, but sometimes you might say something like, "Oh man, you're like the prettiest girl I've ever seen," or "Oh my gosh, you're so out of my league with your looks because you're just so attractive." And you're thinking you're paying her a high compliment. Well, for one, you're not, because she probably hears that all the time. But more importantly, you're thinking that she's going to be thinking of all the women you've ever dated, she's the most attractive, and that's a compliment. But what could actually happen is it's going to tip the scale into, wait a minute, if I'm like the prettiest he's ever gotten, how ugly are these other chicks that he dated? Like, he's not able to get any other pretty chicks. I'm the only one. Does that mean that his judgment is off? Is his radar a little like tilted? Should I be worried that the girls he's previously dated are not as good looking? So see, these are examples of things where like you're sending things thinking it means one thing, but again, she's going to add a narrative. So you thinking, I'm going to say that she's very, very pretty and I don't date girls as pretty as her, but like women want to think that they're in a high class and that you're able to get women as pretty as her because she wants to be added to that category of pretty women you've dated. She doesn't want to be the top tier and then by default thinking that all the other women you dated are a lot uglier. So stop saying that, especially via text. And then the fifth text that turns women off are the ones where you're taking a jab at yourself. So many men out there will say like, oh, I must have done something stupid, or, oh, I'm so goofy, or, oh, it must be my right eye, or, random stuff where they're trying to pick at themselves. And I get, guy, why you're doing it, because you're thinking if there are any kind of flaws about you, you want to get it out there before she notices it and calls you out on it so you can act like it doesn't bother you. But you're taking jabs at somebody that she's dating, and it's you that she's trying to date. So even if you're thinking it's jovial, whatever, she doesn't want the person that she's trying to date, i.e. you, to insult themselves. She doesn't want you to help her find your flaws. Like, that's not a thing you need to do. It's not attractive. It's not appealing. Most women aren't actually turned on by it at all. It doesn't make it endearing to them to hear you being able to take jabs at yourself. No, like, that's the kind of stuff that if you're going to do it, it can come later in the relationship, but you shouldn't be doing it early on. And you definitely shouldn't be doing it through text, where if you were being sarcastic, there's no vocal tone there or to help her differentiate if you're being serious or if you're being jokey. All right. So just leave the insults about you, just leave them to the wayside. And then I'm gonna give you a bonus text. All right. Here's another text that, believe it or not, turns women off. And it's this. It's the reconfirmation text. Yes, you set up a date with a woman, and then you're thinking, well, the next day I'm going to hit her up to remind her about this date. Or a lot of guys do the thing where they'll say, hey, let's go on a date, and then I'll hit you up later to plan the actual day and time. Guys, women do not need reconfirmation texts, ever. They don't. They never need you to remind them that you asked them on a date. Most women are smart, and admittedly, some of them are smarter than men, and they have a memory like an elephant. They remember stuff. If you get into a relationship with these women, they're going to remember stuff that you did to them 5 years ago and how they felt about it and all this other stuff. You're mean to tell me she can't remember in the span of 12 hours a date that you just set with her 12 hours ago? Like, that's asinine. So it's not anything you need to do. You do not need to ever send a woman a reconfirmation text about a date. If anything, if you don't send it, you know what's going to happen? Around the time of the date, she's going to text you and say, hey, so is the date still on? Blah, 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 blah. And that's the thing. That's an action that a woman can take that's not going to take her down a peg or two, because we don't take anything personal, read anything personal about it. But when you as the guy send the, hey, so are we still on text? It gives this aura of you that you're not confident, that you don't believe that you're good enough for her to actually remember the date. It can actually cause her to have buyer's remorse, do a double take about, should I go out this guy? And then actually cancel dates. And I've had women that, for example, I had a woman friend a few years ago that I had a crush on, and I asked her on a date, and she did not want to go. But I asked her on the date in person, mind you, and I said, great, we'll go for the date this day. And the next day comes, and I'm nervous as heck, like that she's going to cancel. Because it's really hard to get a woman friend that you have a crush on out on a date. But I did it, but I'm thinking like she's going to cancel. I said, but you know what? You cannot call her. You can't text her. Assume the date's going to happen. 10 minutes before the date, this woman who was not interested in me, hits me up. Hey, so are we still going on our date or what? Why? Because I, as the guy, had enough guts to believe that this thing was going to happen. And that's the impression that I get. Even if I was at home, nervous as heck that it wasn't going to happen, the reality was I knew I had to not contact her in order to make it happen. Because if I contact her and said, hey, so is the date still on? Now I've asked her a question, which means I'm now giving her an out to this date. And the worst thing you can do is do a reconfirmation text that gives a woman an out, because she might go on this date and actually have a great time. But prior to that, if you're hitting her up, seeing if it's still on, she might decide in her head, it's probably not a good idea, and cancel it. And then you guys never get that chance. All right. So stop sending reconfirmation texts. They are not needed. And you're more likely to get the outcome and the date that you want if you do not send them. So on to the next topic, which is, this is the question that you need to stop asking women on dates. And it's one that a lot of guys that aren't confident about their chances with a woman tend to ask. And this is important because in the dating game, you're going to go into some of these dates where you're really nervous. You're not sure of yourself. You're not sure if she likes you. You're not sure if she really wants to do this. And you have to put on a brave face and recognize that even though internally you're thinking she may not like me or whatever, the reality is you don't know what the story is yet. But if you're putting on the face of being confident, of realizing this person could be the one for you and that you're deserving, then you'll get some really good results. And you might be able to date women that you never thought you'd ever have a shot with. But with that said, if you ask this one particular question, it could ruin all of that. And here's the question, right? You're on a date with her, and inevitably you guys start talking about maybe dating past or what, yada, yada, yada. I don't do that kind of stuff. I don't ask women, hey, tell me about your past dates and boyfriends. That's not it's not necessary. It's really not. But anyway, sometimes guys will start asking this question. They'll say, so what kind of guy are you looking for? Now, why do guys ask that? Because as men, we don't want to waste our time with women that don't actually want to be with us. And so at some point in the dating sphere, some guy thought to themselves, hey, you know what? If we just start asking women what kind of guy they're looking for, they can describe that guy. And if it describes me, then we can continue on. But if the guy that she describes doesn't describe me, then I know this is a waste of my time. And so guys will ask, hey, so what kind of guys are you into? Thinking that they're going to hear more often a positive answer that they want to hear. But here's the problem with that question is that it doesn't take into account the fact that even women that have lists have things they want in a relationship that they're not aware they want that aren't on those lists. And there's also things that she has on her list that she thinks are important, but upon spending time with the guy, learning his life story, seeing how he makes her feel, she could realize some of the things on that list are not important. A big one, for example, with guys is the height thing. Across the board, guys write me time and time again, Harry, I'm a short guy. How do I get women? How do I get women? I'm only 5'7", 5'6". Women seem to say they want like taller guys. I'm out of luck. What do I do? So if these short guys were to go on dates and say, hey, so what kind of guy are you looking for? Are you looking for a short guy? Most women would say no. And yet here I am in Hollywood where I've met women who are like 6 feet that have boyfriends and husbands that are 5'8", 5'7", 5'6". Why? Because at no time during these dates did they say, hey, so like, what kind of you guys looking for? And so, but what they did was they went on these dates and they showed these women the best time of their lives. They showed them why it is that they stand out from all these other men. During the dating process, they knew when to show up and when not to. They knew how to make her laugh. They were funny. They were jovial. They knew to ask about her. They focused on trying to make her feel the best she could ever feel. And then these women ended up falling for them and eventually marrying them. And you can't do that, though, if you're so worried about thinking, well, I got to know for 100% for certain what's on her list. And if I fit every single description, because if I don't, then, oh, my God, I'm going to be like, you can't have that kind of fear, guy. You got to go into each. If a woman says yes to a date to you, then that means that on some level, she's thinking, I'm going to give this guy a shot, which means subconsciously, she thinks you have a shot. The fact that you got the date should be more than enough proof to you that you are on some subconscious level, the kind of guy that she's possibly looking for. And then another thing you got to get recognized too is that a woman's not going to necessarily know if you're the guy for her after 1 or 2 dates. So you might go on let's say you're the guy that checks all her boxes. Let's say you're 6'5", you're muscular, you got $100,000 in the bank, you got abs of steel, and you go on a few dates. Well, after a couple of dates, you could make her feel as though you're not the guy because maybe your religious or political views are different, or maybe you smell weird, or maybe like, she has other things about her past that she realizes are going to clash with you and your relationship. But the point is that she's going to find that out as she dates you. So even though initially on paper, you would have, quote, been the guy she was looking for, the reality is until she spent more time with you, she's not going to be sure of that, which is why I tell you guys, on average, it takes a woman 2 to 3 months to solidify her feelings for you because she needs that time to see if you're the kind of guy she's looking for. But when you ask that kind of question on a date, it makes you look like you're lacking confidence. It makes you look like you've already kicked yourself out of the running. And to some women, it'll make them think, why is he asking this question? Like, is he trying to hide something? Like, is he trying to catch me in some kind of aha or gotcha? Like, oh, you said you like people with like 4 fingers and I have 5. So, oh my God, like it just doesn't put you in a positive light. And it doesn't put you in the light of a guy that's actually confident about his chances of being able to secure this woman in a relationship. Okay. So this is another one of those things where you don't need to say this. Yes, you could be thinking, gosh, I wonder what kind of guy she's looking for. I wonder if it's going to be me. Don't do that. Focus on what you can do to make her interactions with you the best that they can possibly be. And in due time, you may find that she actually decides you are the guy that she was looking for this whole time. So hopefully, guys, this helps you out. Now, before I get into the third topic, as you guys know, on November 1st, I'm going to be opening up my Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy. And this is the end all be all. It is basically the Netflix of dating sites, whereby it's going to be a plethora of audios, videos, and PDFs that you'll be able to have monthly access to. That's designed to help you date in an authentic way. It helps you learn how to attract women, how to text them, what to talk to them about on dates, how to, go beyond just the dating portion and go into a long-lasting relationship. We talk about how to build up your confidence and how to get rid of anxiety and a bunch of, hours upon hours of stuff, and it's going to be available for a low monthly fee. If you want to get on the waiting list for that right now, go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and sign up for the wait list. When you do, you'll get instant access to a free PDF called the Girlfriend Roadmap Checklist, which is giving you basically the base tip blueprint of what to do during those first 3 months to go from dating a woman to getting her into a relationship. If you want to get that, go to the website again, introvertdatingsuccess.com, and sign up for that waitlist today. Now, the course opens on November 1st. The week prior to that, I'll be doing a lot of interesting webinars and sending things out to the mailing list to get you guys prepped for this. All right. So with that said, let's now get on to the meat of the show. So I want to talk to you guys about the kind of information you need to stop volunteering to women on dates, because I'm so tired of guys thinking that when they show up on a date, they got to preemptively tell a woman all this stuff about them or mention all these things, thinking that, well, if she has a complete picture of me off of these first 2 dates, then she'll know who I truly am and she'll want to date me. That's not how this works. For women, dating is a journey. And part of the fun for women in dating is going on that journey and actually learning about you from day 1 till day you die, basically. And so you trying to give up all the information about yourself on that first date could actually be causing you to lose attraction. And there's some things, honestly, you don't need to volunteer that early on, because she needs to have a better idea of who you are before she actually hears about some of the stuff that you want to talk about. So to that end, we're going to go into the 10 things you need to stop volunteering as information to women early on in the dating process. Number 1, if you're a virgin, you need to stop telling women that you're a virgin. Now, I will preface this by saying in college, I was a virgin. And I actually told women that. And back in the day, my late teens, early 20s, come to find out there were women at my school that were actually trying to date me to take my virginity. Didn't know that at the time, but as a late teens, early 20s guy, I can get away with that. If you're a guy that's in his late 20s, 30s, 40s, and you still haven't, lost your virginity, well, guess what, guy? That is nobody's business. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, what if a woman comes along and we end up getting into the bedroom and she finds out, I don't know what I'm doing? Honestly, when you first hook up with most people, you're going to be learning a new person every time. So for those of you that have not hooked up with anybody yet, all right, you're thinking she needs to think that you're a pro in order for this to work out. Here's what typically happens. You inevitably hook up with that first woman, and then there's a learning curve. You realize you got to learn her body, you got to learn what she likes in bed, what she doesn't like. And so you go through that, and then you break up. Then you got to find somebody else and start all over again. You got to learn their body, their likes, their dislikes, because the thing that the last person liked could be different from what this person likes. Yes, there'll be some generalities of what women like, but there's a lot of changes up. Some women, like you going downtown with them, and some don't. Some have sensitive areas and some don't. So it's like, I say that to say that anytime you get with a new person, it's going to be a new experience. Therefore, if it's your actual first time experience, the woman you're with doesn't need to know that, because it's going to be new to her whether she knew you had hookups before or not. But telling women that you are a virgin still, it's not the attractive thing that you may think it's going to actually be. You're thinking if we told a woman a virgin, it's because, you're able to have self-control. You're waiting for the one. And that's sad to say, that's stuff that sounds like something a woman's doing. Not to say that if you are a virgin guy at this point, that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, if you're verbalizing these things, I wanted to wait for the right one, or somebody was special. Well, that sounds better coming from a woman than it does coming from a man. And so by default to that, it could actually turn her off. So if you're a virgin, you're in your late 20s, your 30s, your 40s, don't think that if you meet a woman that actually wants to go to bed with you, that you need to divulge to her that you're a virgin. It's not necessary. She'll still hook up with you if you don't tell her. All right. The second piece of information that you need to stop volunteering to women on these early on dates is how many people you slept with. So this is the opposite of the virgin problem. Is, let's say you're a guy that slept with 100 women. She doesn't need to know that. Giving her that information isn't going to actually help your situation, and it could give her a judgment of you that is not the most positive. Now, this is not to say that if a woman asks you, have you been with, how many people you've been with, that you don't have to answer. I personally don't, but you can say, I don't kiss and tell, but I've had a decent amount of experience, and leave it at that. but you don't need to be putting out specific numbers, because some women will actually get in their head about like, oh my God, he's going with X amount of people. What does this mean about me? Am I just going to be a number? Am I going to be as good as those other 99 girls that he had? Oh my God. It can just, you just add all these extra problems that you don't really need. So if you need to give a woman the impression that you've hooked up with people, that's, in your right to do. Just keep it very nonchalant. Just say, hey, I've definitely had girlfriends and I've, hooked up before, no big, no foul. But like, you really want to make it a thing where you're not trying to just spew out, what you've done with X amount of people and all this other stuff. Because realistically, like, my motto is, if it's not helping attract her, then there's no point in divulging the information. And that's not something that you need to divulge that's going to make it be like, oh, he slept with 100 women, I feel like I like him. Like, that's not really how that thought process goes, okay? The third piece of information that you need to stop volunteering to women is why your last relationship didn't work out. Now, notice, by the way, I'm saying this is information you don't need to volunteer. If women ask you these questions, you can choose to answer them or not, but you don't need to be divulging things of your own accord that aren't being asked of you. And this is one of those things. If you're on a date with a woman, clearly it means whatever previous thing you were in didn't work out. But you don't need to go into detail for that. One, because some women will place judgment based on how long it was. Let's say you're a guy that gets over, relationships easily. A woman breaks up with you. It's no big deal to you. You just move on. But it's been like a month and you go out with her. Now she's going to think it's only been a month. He's not really over his ex, blah, blah, blah. Or you could, if you say the opposite, like, hey, it's been like 5 years, she could be thinking, oh my God, it's been 5 years. Like, what's with this guy? He must be crazy. Why can't no other girls date him? And so you don't need to divulge like that kind of stuff, like why it didn't work out. I actually have a number 4 here. I say, how long ago your last relationship was. That's the 4th thing. But yeah, talking about why it didn't work out, because most women are going to assume that the guy's at fault. So you trying to give a reason, it could make her think that you're lying about it. You could just say, hey, you know what? It just didn't work out. I wish her the best, but I'm just on the greener pastures. But going into explicit detail, like, that's not something that needs to be talked about until later on in the relationship. And even then, let her ask about it. And in terms of number 4, how long ago it was, like I said, whether it was like a month ago or 5 years ago, like, you don't know how the woman's going to be judging that timetable. So I typically err on the side of that's really not your business. If you want to be vague, you can just say, oh, it's been a minute. I've just, been concentrating on, work or whatever like that. But, now I'm back on the scene. I'm here dating you. Leave it like that and just kind of phrase it in a way where you're kind of moving past what the actual topic is. Because again, how it ended and how long it's been are not really things that you need to personally divulge to the woman that you're dating for the first time, Anyway, the 5th thing that you need to stop volunteering to women is that you're talking to other people. Like, if let's say you meet a woman on a dating app, right? If she asks you, hey, so are you seeing other people? Again, you can choose to divulge that if you want to, but if you volunteer it, like, that's not going to help your cause. You volunteering to a woman that you're still dating other people, all she's going to think is either A, you're bragging, or B, like, why is he bringing this up? Like, is he trying to like put me some kind of contest? Like, what's going on? And so it's not something you need to say. Like, women are and actually you want the woman to be assuming that you're seeing other people. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean she has it fully in her head that she knows that, because it's this weird thing of like, she wants to know she's possibly in competition with other women that you may possibly be dating, but she doesn't want it explicitly spelled out to her in terms of who you're seeing or how many you're seeing. So her own head will have in the back of it, he's probably seeing a bunch of other people. Let that be the thought. Don't give her any kind of like indication that she's right. And if she asks you, you can say, well, I'm just back from the dating scene. I'm just trying to find the right person. And so it is what it is, and leave it at that. All right. Very simple. The 6th bit of information you need to stop volunteering to women early on are your feelings about them. Because realistically, guy, if you go on like 1 or 2 good dates, you're going to be having a heightened sense of feeling for this person. Honestly, most of it's lust, because after 1 or 2 good dates, you're really ready to jump her in the sack. And so you're thinking that you have these feelings all of a sudden, they're feelings of love. It's lust, but you think they're these feelings of love and you should tell her and it'll make things bond faster. Meanwhile, she needs 2 to 3 months to solidify her feelings. If she is not at the point where she is feeling like your potential boyfriend, then you telling her your feelings is not a good idea. And you're thinking, you've seen all these movies and songs with the guys are like, oh, I love you, and I should just emote all my feelings, and baby, I want you, this and that. Dude, it's like 2 or 3 dates. You have not been with her long enough to have the feelings of love that you think you feel. You're feeling feelings of lust because you want to hook up with her. And yes, you could still like her, but most of those feelings are still early on feelings that are going to lead you towards the bedroom. You need time to spend more time with her to really make sure that your feelings are valid and actually true. And so therefore, you trying to say early on, well, I want to tell you that it's been 2 days and I already have feelings for you. And I want you to be the girlfriend, all this stuff. Dude, she's not there. And all you're doing is shooting yourself in the foot. So look at what her timetable is and then match accordingly. And at the point where she starts telling you about her feelings for you voluntarily, that's when you can start responding to those. And I don't even say responding by trying to say, oh, I have feelings also, but just doing things that indicate that's true. Okay. The seventh thing that you do not need to volunteer to women early on is your social media information. I know a lot of you guys, after 1 or 2 dates, you want to get her on Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, if it's still a thing, TikTok. And guys, I'm telling you, the less a woman knows about you in the beginning, the more it's going to be that she gets attracted to you. Because here's how it happens, okay? She's dating 5 other guys, right? And all these other guys have social media. So after each date, she can go to their Facebook, their Instagram, their Snapchat, and look up all their pictures and all their stuff and all their information. And by date 2 or 3, she's getting kind of bored. Why? Because part of the fun for women is trying to find out more about you. You having pages she can already go to where she can find that stuff and look at it is going to zap that away from her real quick, especially if you give it to her. Whereas if you do like I do, which is I keep my social media private for friends only, and except minus the dating site stuff, but like my personal accounts, I keep not publicly open. So when she goes to those pages, she can't see anything. Why? Because I want her to get to know me. I want to be able to, give her the proper narrative about who I am versus her getting a misread based on a comment she might have read, a picture she might have seen, pictures with other women she might have seen with me, whether it was a friend or a cousin. Like, I don't need those kind of problems. And so the worst thing you could do is after that first date, just send her all your social media information and say, come be my friend, this and that. Like, don't do that. No, give her that 2 to 3 months. And I tell all women that I've dated before, I said, hey, you know what? Like, until we become boyfriend and girlfriend, we're not going to be friends on social media. Like, we need to get to know each other. And I find women surprisingly agree to that. Like, women are kind of like, that's totally cool. I get it. Because, if we're not going to be anything, there's no point in connecting and then having to defriend each other later. So even women out there are like, I don't have to be this guy's friend on social media yet. Anyway, the 8th thing that you don't need to volunteer to women is family drama. Like, I know you want to go on dates and wax poetic about your crazy Uncle Bob or how your Aunt Mary's an alcoholic and all that stuff. Dude, all doling out your family drama and stuff early on is going to do is make her think that if she gets with you, she's going to be dragged into the drama. And as much as you think women like drama, women don't want to be dragged into new drama. So this is probably not the best plan of action to do, is to try to tell a woman, yeah, I got all this crap stuff going on, because that's not an attractive proposition for anybody, let alone women. The 9th thing you need to stop volunteering to women on dates are other hookup acts that you've done with other women. Yes, you had a Mile High Club situation with the woman one time. You hooked up with one woman in a massage parlor. You hooked up with one woman at a pool at a hotel. And these are some great stories to tell your homeboys. But to women, even if they ask you the story, they really don't want to know, because they think they're ready. They're not actually prepared for some of the debauchery that you've done with other women, and they don't know if they're going to be able to handle that debauchery, or if they want to do those things, or she's going to think like, man, he's done so much stuff, I'm not going to be good enough for him. And also, it's just not a good look. Like, women don't really want to hear about other hookup acts that you've done with other women. They want to think about what you're going to potentially do to them. And you could tell them, oh, I like doing this, this, this. But when you add a specific face, name, date, and time to that kind of stuff, it can make a woman feel insecure and make her feel a bit turned off by that. So you err on the side of not doing that in order to keep her attraction for you. All right. And then the 10th bit of information that you do not need to be volunteering to women are past traumas. And this is stuff like, let's say you in the past were like an alcoholic, or you had a drug addiction, or you have some kind of dark family secret, whatever. Well, this is past trauma. This is stuff that you got past. Ideally, you went to therapy for it. Ideally, you dealt with it. And so these are things, I'm not even saying hide from the woman in terms of in a long-term relationship, but in those first few dates, early on, when she's getting to know you, telling her about past trauma is not necessary, because you might think to yourself, well, I'm past it and I want to talk about it so I can show her that I'm able to overcome obstacles. And all she's going to think is he going to relapse back into those problems? Is this going to be an issue for our relationship? Is there and those things are not things that you need to be building up early on. Now, when she becomes the girlfriend, or as you guys start to get more serious to where it's about to lead to a relationship, you can choose then to talk about those things. But if it's a past trauma that you've gotten over, that is no longer in your life, it's not necessary to bring these particular things up. Unless, of course, it's like, you had a kid when you were 15. That's it could be a bit traumatic and you might want to bring that kind of stuff up. But like, life situations happen to all of us, but you don't know how that's going to be judged early on by a woman. A woman could very well be open to some of your past traumas once she's gotten to know you. But in the get to know you stage, the bar is very low for how often she's going to try to stick around if you are divulging these kind of things. So this is why you want to really focus on what she's about, making her feel good and learning about her. And your past traumas need to be put in a box somewhere that says, later on, once we're in a relationship, once I can trust her to keep this information and to not spread it to other people. All right. So guys, ultimately, this show is boiled down to this, is that you need to learn what kind of communication is going to be good for you in trying to learn a woman and not. And if you don't know those things, then it's something you need to really get lessons at, which is why I'm opening up the Introvert Dating Success Academy on November 1st, because we have a lot of lessons that talk about the kinds of topics and subjects to talk about on dates, before you get into the relationship, what to talk about during relationship, talking about next steps. All these things are very, very important and they need to be talked about, but you need to know how to talk about them, when to talk about them, what to bring up, what not to bring up. And this is just a small example of things that we talk about in the Introvert Dating Success Academy. So be sure to sign up for the waitlist for that now at introvertdatingsuccess.com and get your free PDF, the Girlfriend Roadmap Checklist, which will give you the blueprint of what to do during those first 3 months to go from dating a woman to actually getting her into a relationship. All right. But thank you guys so much for checking out this live show. I'm trying to do these once a week, either Thursdays or Fridays. So I'll keep you posted on which one I decide to do. Today, Thursday worked best because this weekend is going to be extremely crazy. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Be sure to like me on YouTube at Harry Wilmington and subscribe to this channel as well. I'm Harry Wilmington, and guys, I will catch you all on the next episode. That's all I got. I am out. Peace. This episode is brought to you by the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy, opening on November 1st. Join the waitlist and get your free PDF, the Girlfriend Roadmap Checklist, at introvertdatingsuccess.com.
Thanks for listening to the Introvert Dating Success Podcast. Visit us at introvertdatingsuccess.com for more great tips on attracting women using your natural introvert charm. Oh,